All right. And so that's where we sit with that. And then, Chuck, I know we got the bids for the common grounds. I don't know if that, we want to go over that here, or is that a separate?
That's a separate
Deal, so.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's one more thing. You guys, we talked to the last week or last month about the driving range match on tees, par threes. So I looked into it a little bit. I have seen some examples. They weren't, none of them were given any companies, but we use Turfhound. But I've seen some really good ideas. And I'm sorry I didn't print them out and show some of them to you. Yeah, I think it could be done. But a lot of the feedback from the players from these, when I read about these, the players didn't seem to like them too much. So, that's what I got so far right now. But I'll bring you some pictures and some more information next month.
Okay. Jeff, while he's doing that, you know, when you guys talk to them Saturday and Wednesday men's leagues, and just ask them what their thoughts are on that. You know, ask the women's group. Well, you would be doing them on which tee boxes would you be doing?
They'd probably be mainly the white tees on the par threes.
Okay. Yeah, ask the men what their thoughts are. Because they're the ones that would be yay or nay.
Pretty simple question. Ask them if they want to hit off AstroTurf or sand.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what it's coming down to.
I'd rather hit off AstroTurf myself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's one move. Yeah, if you could kind of survey those guys and just get an opinion, I think that would be helpful because they're the ones using it. And any other groups where there's men that. Is that?
I'll talk to them.
Great. Thank you.
What do you want to do? Decide it every 3 months?
Yeah.
No, we do the tees.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right. Jeff.
I passed out where we stand so far in March. We're averaging about $19,000 a day, which at the end of the day should put us somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 over budget, which would give us, you know, close to $300,000 over budget so far this year. So, you know, any thoughts of doing this putting green, we will have some money there. It's nice to be in a good position like this. I did notice that in the last couple of weeks we have seen some slowdown on Sundays a little bit, and a couple days here and there a little bit slower than it was January, February. I know people are going back, or I think, you know, the price of gas is scaring some people out, the locals especially. But you know, I would like to think we continue to be bullish in this golf economy as it's going right now. But you know, it's always good to be cautious. You never know when the worm will turn, as they say.
Yes.
But we've had a really good season. We've been really busy. We've had a lot of play, and you know, happy to have it. I understand that the Williams Road driving range is going to close. I mean, if you look at where we stand on the driving range right now, due to the Alico closure, we're $47,000 above budget, and as of yesterday, we're already 6 for this month, so we'll probably end up somewhere 10 to 15 for this month as well. So, you know, we're going to wind up somewhere in the year probably 70,000 ahead in driving range. The one downside of that is the mats that we purchased from Turfhound that lasted 3 years plus last time, and we could have maybe won another year, aren't going to make 3 years.
No.
They'd be lucky they make 2, so, you know, look at replacement of those mats. But, you know, I'd hate to think if we had been grass, we would have had nothing, no grass at all.
Be hitting off the sand.
Yeah, exactly.
Flip them around.
So you can, and we will, but they don't line up just quite right. We'll have some bigger gaps, but you can, and we do. The straightaway ones aren't bad. It's when you get on that turn, on that apex, that's where things start getting goofy. When you start turning those around, you'll start having these weird gaps right in the middle of the two mats. You're standing on one, you're hitting off the other, and there's a weird gap. But yeah, we do. You're going to have to. There's nothing we can do. Matter of fact, we're probably due for a turn.
Okay. You do that on the closure day?
Yeah.
Jeff, just a quick question. On the days that were closed for their work, are we going to leave the driving range open?
Typically not.
Typically not, because he normally sprays around the driveway.
We work on it, we're spraying it, putting
That's
a
fine.
brine on it, and, yeah. And like when we go by with the fertilizer, I mean, it's shooting it out there. If you're standing next to it, it'll break your skin. It's like shooting BBs at you, 100 mile an hour. It's
That's fine.
dangerous. We gotta constantly tell people on the putting green and chipping, every time we close verification, it never fails. Serve closed,
Get out.
please, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the sign.
Jeff,
Nobody's out there, not a single soul, but.
Jeff, I'm assuming you're aware of the golf ball shortage issue with resin and the shortage of range balls.
Yeah, I bought as many as I could when I could.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we'll be okay. I have some put back. I'm on Shrixon's list to be one of the first ones to get them when they have some.
Good.
As far as range balls, the machine is in the process of being built and will be shipped here. The one thing we have to buy a shed for it. So the anticipated cost for the shed's about $3,000. The location will be right there on the range in the middle, right where the water, that little water jug's at right now. We'll put it right there. Concrete pad it'll sit on, and then it'll have a little shed over the top of it with a roll-up garage door so they can load it, and we can open it up and use it and close it at night.
And we have the electric close enough to go.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, right now, it's looking like we found a pretty prime location. Like the electrical, there's an electrical splice box right there with power that should, according to Lou and what I saw, easily tapped into. So it should, electrical should be hopefully a minimal.
Okay.
And it's in a central location on the back of the range. Minimal irrigation, changing of the irrigation, we got lucky. It seems like, right now, it seems like we got a really
Good.
prime spot.
Just curious on that, as far as what you designate that and potential hurricane coverage on that. I'm just remembering when you build something, what you designate that building could also influence insurability and I believe even permitting. Just something to think about. I've not obviously in Stony Brook, but I know other people in Lee County that have looked at building sheds and stuff in their yards and kind of hit some hurdles there. I just because
That's a good
shed,
thought.
and I don't know what are we building there.
Could call Joe, maybe ask Joe.
Let's ask Joe.
They probably know, so I'm sure they could turn up
Yeah.
there for
Well, it's the same guy who built the starter shack there that I love so much. But it's a very usable building. I know you don't like the color of it, but it's a very usable building. And I asked for it to be in tan to kind of match the existing building, the Pro Shop and Duffy's, best we could. But I'll look into it, Chris.
Well, it's just something to think about.
Good idea. I'd hate to get it there and for the village to say you can't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that'd be permanent.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeff, that's your task.
I know a couple artists in Stony Brook, maybe they could paint a mural on it, like a golfing mural or something.
Just as long as they
Maybe
don't
customized.
As long as you don't paint what was in those bunkers.
Oh, yeah, they were creative.
Dear God.
Oh, yeah.
Question?
Yes.
Yes.
With the continued loss of competing ranges, I think it's been mentioned before, and I know that cost, which no one wants to talk about cost, but raise the price of the range balls, but can we put some targets out there? It's kind of hard to get aimed towards somebody's house, and wouldn't it be kind of nice to have targets for people that are practicing to see, like the little islands, and I know you say cost X $1,000 a piece, but any place else to practice ball, raise the price.
Well, we raised it, and we probably will raise it again, but
We got two 15-foot unicorns we can put out there.
Okay.
The issue with the targets was the ability for the floor of the lake was so uneven for them to stay anchored. You remember the ones we were here before, they float all over, the wind gets and they go all over the place. We can look at a couple different possibilities, or we could do the 18th fairway side with the fountains, and then, because those fountains are supposed to be targets. I mean, that's primarily what they're there. If you look on the board, it gives you yardages to those fountains. If we put 4 more on the other side, then you'd have 8 out there. That would be your targets. And it's a beautification thing, because at night, I mean, I've driven out of the community, it looks really pretty. And if you put 4 more, I mean, it would really make that lake stand out, instead of like, you know, these greens that break loose and float around and all over the place. I mean, I'm more about the beautification of the golf course as well as the community there. So
I'd rather look into the fountains.
yeah, I think maybe we had originally talked about that a decade ago.
I'll look at the community center. Okay. You're welcome.
Yeah, so originally a decade ago, when we put those 4 in, we wanted to put 4 on the other side, and it was, you know, financially wasn't the greatest of times, and we're going through other issues, and we, you know, just kind of kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. Maybe it's time to look at that for next season. Maybe if we could do that. I happen to know a fountain guy, and we can have him look at it and give me a price.
Did you have them come?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
that would be nice if you made them different colors, so that they would know the red one was a certain distance.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
do that. Other than that, I don't really
Is it a
have.
different color? How would you do that?
Lights.
The lights.
Well, at night, but during the
During the day?
Just be.
Oh, well. I just aimed for the water, and I'm lucky I hit it.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Other than that, I don't really have a lot going on. You know, like I talked about earlier, the National Deaf Association is going to be here in June. You know, we have a few events in May. There's an actual April 23rd. There's an Alzheimer's event. If anybody's interested in playing, Dr. Satowski from FGCU and one of my cart guys who's a student of hers, Bradley, are putting it on. It's going to be a fun event and raising awareness for Alzheimer's.
When is that, Jeff?
April 23rd. I got a flyer in the pro shop if you want. There's a little, what do you call it?
QR code?
Yeah, barcode thing you scan in, it gives you information on it. And that's about it. You know, May we'll have some events, different fundraisers. The ESPN's having a tournament here. We're doing an event with the HOA, I believe, possibly, around the 1st of May, and then we'll go from there. We're looking forward to having a good summer season as well, and taking advantage of the new residents we have here in Southwest Florida, playing our golf course and seeing it for the first time, enjoying it. And I know John's looking forward to being able to go out and do some maintenance.
Absolutely.
Because after, 6 months of
Beat down.
it's time to, start get the golf course back up to speed. But we've had a good season, and I'm happy, and I know that my staff sends their thank yous for last month's increase. That was greatly appreciated by all of them. And they're young, but they're learning, so we're getting there with them too. So I'm fully staffed at the moment.
Okay, update on the landscape committee. I spoke with Brian from Juniper. I asked him not to come today because I knew we had a lot of other stuff on the agenda. He will be here next month with plans for the community. So I will get the landscape committee together to speak with him before he presents it at the meeting next month. So he had some good ideas, and so we'll take it from there. So that's the update on that. Update on the purchase of TAQ building? Tony?
Chuck and Tony, I guess.
Chuck and Tony, yes.
It's a combination. Been a lot of activity in March on this. On March 1st, I provided, under the contract, the objections to the survey following March. That was March 1st. And then on March 15th, provided various objections to the survey. If anyone wants them, I can send you copies of those documents. The seller then had a period of time within which to respond. On last Thursday, the 17th, the attorney for the seller responded and provided the seller's cure notice in response to the various objections that were raised. And under the contract, once the seller sends the cure notice, the seller can, in a cure notice, say, I will cure objections, I will delete exceptions, I will do this, I will do that, or I will not cure objections. That's the various choices that the seller can make. And then the contract says if the seller elects not to cure any matters that I set forth in my objection notice, then the buyer, the district, shall elect to either terminate the agreement or waive the objections or defects with no reduction in the purchase price. And the buyer, the district, shall notify the seller by written notice of its election within 30 calendar days after receipt of the cure notice or on or before the expiration of due diligence period, whichever is later. So the 30 days from last Thursday would be April 16th. April 15th is the due diligence period. So we have the ability to wait 30 days to respond to it, but in going through quickly, going into a little bit more detail with the chair and with the district manager, with Chuck, there are only a couple of items I think are significant items that the seller, quote, was elected not to cure the various objections. And those objections relate to two primary areas. One is, in my review of the title work, there was the original covenants. There's two sets of covenants, and one of the original covenants included all 805 some odd acres within this community, including across the street, the Miramar, the design center, and the clubhouse tract. It's a 5-acre platted tract. And the developer had the option to remove or add lands to the covenant. And before the sale of the 4.22 acres comprising where the clubhouse and Duffy's and the pro shop is located, the developer, U.S. Homes, removed that acreage from the deed restrictions, which they had every right to do. Then later on, there were further removals of other property. Fast forward to 2020, 2021, there was an amended and restated set of covenants that purported, the term, to reimpose those covenants over everything within the 805 acres again. Two flaws with that. One is, in order to do that, as to properties that were pulled out, they needed to join in. The district, TAC did not join in, nor did the district join in onto those three pieces that it has of that clubhouse tract. So there's one deficiency there. So I raised that as an issue. And secondly, the legal description, I don't know what happened if somebody took a PDF, tried to convert it to a Word, OCR messed it up royally. The legal description is gibberish. I've shared it with the chair and with Chuck. It doesn't have any, usually you'll see degrees, minutes, seconds. As far as bearings, there's no degrees referenced. It has one run for 44,000 feet, which my calculation is about 8 miles. So, I mean, it's a mess. Yeah. So I talked to Stephen Falk, who's the attorney presently for the association, briefly outlined to him verbally what the issue was. I need to send him in like a little bullet form what the documents are, what the matters are, and I think Steve will take care of that. He's a good attorney. His comment was, I wasn't the attorney, Tony, I wasn't the attorney that prepared that. Because I've known Stephen for a long time, and I've known the other attorney for a long time too. So that's one of the cure items that, or items that TAC has elected not to cure. It's outlined in 2 spots. Again, Steve Falk can fix that, in my opinion. And so, regardless of whether or not TAC wishes to cure that, I think that can be addressed. The bigger issues, or potential bigger issues, but may not be issues, and are matters with regards to the getting a zoning verification letter. There was one issued in 2007 to TAC as to the current use, where Lee County said all the uses there are fine, clubhouse with restaurant, open to the public, and some other uses. But in my guidance, and we always want to get a brand new one, that was 15 years ago, that was under Lee County. So I put in my title objections that we would need to have that verified. One other aspect in both the title and the survey objections were that the clubhouse tract, like I said, was originally 5 acres. A small sliver chunk was taken off for Corkscrew Road right-of-way. Apparently that was given to Lee County. I haven't found that deed. Then there was the deed to TAC for the 4.22 acres. Then there was I'll call it the easternmost little piece that was deeded to the district along with the golf course tract way at the beginning. So you have that piece sort of taken up. Then you have the sign monument piece. That's a separate parcel in 2006. And then in 2007, the putting green parcel was deeded to the district. Arguably, and I take a conservative approach on representing buyers, arguably that's a lot split under the Lee County regulations at the time in 06, 03, 06, and 07. Lee County had an administrative lot split approval process where you could obtain it from a staff perspective and not have to replat with the county commission or re-subdivide with the county commission. I prepared an application for the zoning verification letter to the village of Estero and sent a draft around yesterday. I'm going to file it today. Have had some preliminary conversations with Mary Gibbs, and the chair, Eileen, was on the call with me at the time, which was very helpful also. That basically was that we would take the position, and I think TAC would take the position, although I can't speak for them, is that everybody knows about those conveyances. In fact, when the 2007 zoning verification letter was issued by Lee County, all those transactions had taken place. All those various deeds taking pieces out of the clubhouse tract had all occurred. It was 03, 06, 07, some other time frame. So that's number one. Number two is that if the district closes on this property, the district will own their whole clubhouse tract. And so you don't, if the village then wants us to kind of put it back together again, except for the sliver that went to Lee County, we're willing to do that. And one of the other issues is, and I think Mary and the village staff recognize it, the records from Lee County, I mean, back in, trying to get them back from 03, 1999, 91, I mean, they're just, it's not the 99, I mean, 99, 2000, it's difficult to get all the records. So I think it was a very friendly and cordial conversation that we had, and hopefully we can get good results. But my zoning verification letter will say, hey, can you confirm that these weren't necessary, or if they were necessary, we're going to put it back. But we're going to take the position that it's not residential property, it didn't change access, and all those kind of items. One other item that comes into play is our setbacks. There is a schedule of a setback table that's in the development order. It's kind of buried in the approved plans that Lee County had. And where the clubhouse sits is on the platted clubhouse tract, like I mentioned. And we've got the dimensions on the survey from the buildings to the parcel lines. And between the buildings on the TAC property to the cart barn, yes, which is on the golf, which is owned by the district on that separate piece of the clubhouse tract. So we have those setbacks. And looking back at the records from Lee County, when the development was first approved and the location of the clubhouse was first approved, the property was not platted. There were no platted lot lines. And that occurred, and then after that Lee County approval, the plat was approved by Lee County. So, but I think we're going to be okay. I just need verification. Part of that zoning verification is that those setbacks are fine. We don't want to run into an issue having to get a variance. But again, we go back to the argument about if the district closes, we're going to own all of it. And yeah, we recognize there's going to be a platted tract line, but come on. It's one of those non-legal arguments about let's be practical, let's be realistic. The seller has said they are not going to address those land use, lot splits, zoning, setback issues. So I will be dropping off this afternoon the zoning verification letter requesting those various items, and so those are sort of in the air.
Tony, I will say when we were on the call with Mary Gibbs and her...
Jim Hart, I think.
Jim, yeah. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. She seemed very optimistic that she would much prefer that Stony Brook owns this property other than some other
She made that very clear.
commercial.
And that was part of our conversation, was that this puts it back to where, it was always intended to be a clubhouse and owned by the community. And I think she was very happy that the district would own that facility.
Right, so
That's a
I
good
don't
point.
think we're going to have a problem with that, and she knows the time frame we're working under.
So that's it. And so also I have, for your reading pleasure, if you would like, the half of a forest. Reach under my secret desk here. This is the property condition assessment report, one for each board by double. So if you want to review it, it's as to what's in there and what's not in there, and then if the board wants additional work done. For example, there weren't any soil borings or foundation analysis performed, but we feel comfortable with the report. Universal is a good firm. So that's that report. The Phase 1 environmental site assessment report, basically no real issues, and we have copies of that. Well, I did not attach all the appendices. I would have had to bring my trailer.
I was going to say, it was 165 pages.
One was 300 and change, and so I did not bring all the appendices. But basically, you go to the conclusion of the Phase 1, because part of what happens is you do a Phase 1 environmental assessment, and then that leads to whether or not you need to do a Phase 2. And I also appreciate the fact that TAC, the seller, and AJS Realty were helpful in filling out their questionnaire, and we also had the benefit, as the disc company, of the prior environmental assessment that was performed back in 2003 when U.S. Home sold it to the current owner. And so if we look at the conclusion, let me find that, the environmental. And they were aware of the mold remediation. We had some discussions about that. And so conclusions, it's on page 19. Based on the readily available environmental information presented in the Phase 1 ESA, this assessment has revealed no evidence of recognized environmental conditions in connection with the subject property. And so, again, it's pretty good shape from an environmental perspective. And Chuck, you've been working on the other aspect of it. I don't know if you want to let the board know about that, or...
The financing side of it?
Yeah.
Yes, we have had some discussion with the financing team. We were marching down the road to prepare, if you will, for us to issue a bond anticipation note known as a BAN. From a timing perspective, because there's the assessment noticing requirements and all that, we're looking at probably needing 10 to 14 additional days. So we broached that subject with TAC, and also broached the subject with them of perhaps an extension going out another 3 months and avoid us having to go and issue a ban and just go straight to the bonds step. So,
Which would save us $150,000.
Save you $150,000, and I just say I think they were relatively amenable to that, and just bypassing the ban altogether. Now, one of the things that he's holding as a carrot right now is the survey objection notice, and he wants a positive response to that first before he'll circle back and talk to us about timing-wise. But what I'm looking for is, and what we kicked around was July 29th for an actual closing date. That would give us ample time to get into circuit court for the validation and for the 30-day appeal period to expire. And then we could go out and issue bonds. So, and there's a lot of work we can run in parallel, so we can save some time. I know Tony's already been working on the complaint, and I'm not sure how far along you are with that, but that's something that probably could be filed in the next week or 10 days, and at least get
After we get our reports.
At least get you to the point where you have a date on the docket, and then you can always supplement the complaint as we're marching closer to the actual date.
And judges love that sometimes, yes.
Yeah, they've been pretty receptive to it as of late. And
Depends upon the judge.
They're still doing them by Zoom, so I mean, I don't think I've sat through one yet that's taken longer than 10 minutes, so anyway, so there's some action that you guys probably need to take today to kind of start the dominoes, if you will.
Could I ask you a question?
Yes.
What is the proposed dollar amount of the bond?
The sizing has us somewhere around 12 to net 11. And it's more than just the building itself. We're also looking at resurfacing all of the roads and doing some curb and catch basin repair work with the roads, looking at doing some landscaping replacement, and then keeping a bit of a contingency in there because we don't know where pricing's going to be at the time we actually have the proceeds to pull the trigger on those projects.
Sure.
Yeah.
What was the dollar amount paid by TAQ for the property originally?
I have no idea.
I don't.
I can find out.
I'm sure it's public record.
Oh, it is, I can get that real quick.
It's on LIPA.org,
He'll
you
look it
can
up.
check that.
I'll get it real quickly. And what I've done also, on that point, if I may, I have gone to the appraisal and redacted what I believe is appropriate, the trade secrets information. TAC has blessed it. I'm going to have one more double check of it and then email it to the board members.
Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you.
And when you see it, you'll see it's all nice dark blue redactions, but I just want to double check it again.
Yeah.
He said it was okay, but I just wanted to say, this is going out to the board members and the public now, and get that to say yes. And that'll be today also.
I think that should be communicated.
Oh, yeah.
To the public.
Yeah, the only aspect of the trade secret aspects, but the numbers and how the appraiser calculated, market analysis and looking around, that's all in there, but the trade secret information is redacted.
Yeah.
And I just want to double check that because there are penalties that come with disclosing trade secrets inappropriately.
Yeah.
Excuse me, can I just have your name, please?
I'm sorry.
Your name, please?
Paul McFarland. What was the assessment?
I'm getting there right now. Oh, I mean, the valuation by this appraisal?
Yeah.
6.8 million.
6.8.
I'm sorry, sir. And I'm looking for the LIPA site right now as to how much they paid for it back then.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so it's a question about the trade secrets, because one of my concerns is the long-term viability of the Duffys versus whatever the financing, because I am assuming that their lease payments would...
Their lease payment, they have a lease for 7 years with 3 5-year renewables.
Right.
And at this point, having gone through all the documentation, and I have to tell you, I have spent a tremendous amount of time going through all of this.
Right.
I mean, when I wake up at 2 in the morning and think, let me just make sure that I did that. Having had the finance background that I have had, I am very confident in the appraisal and in the in everything that's come through. And I am a person that looks at expenses higher and income lower, and even at looking at that, I am sure that we will be fine. That's all I can say at this point. I can't divulge anything else.
But the financing will be for a longer term than the lease.
The financing is for 30 years, yes.
Yes. And
So
they have a 7-year lease, right?
they have a 7-year lease with 3 5-year renewables, and the pro shop will also be paying rent. They will continue to pay rent.
The same rent that they paid previously?
They will be paying the rent, and we have to look at what the,
So you could raise it?
yes, we could. Okay.
And other questions in regards to the lease. So you reviewed all the sales records of the Duffys?
Again, I have looked at all the financial information that was submitted, which was required to come to an appraisal, and I really cannot divulge anything else.
No, I'm not asking for the sales amount.
Yes, that was all.
You reviewed what Duffy's sales were?
Everything was, yes, was submitted that I did review, as did the appraiser, as did Chuck, as did Tony.
Okay. Now, Duffy's was closed for a long period of time.
There's still a history there, and yes, even with that, we are fine.
Did they pay the lease while they were closed?
I cannot divulge
Oh, you
anything.
can't divulge that?
That's correct, huh?
Yes.
Lynn O'Shea, I live on Lancaster. I'm just curious, is there an estimated impact financially on each homeowner once this deal goes through?
Yes, what, currently on your tax bill, you're paying $425. $325 is for the golf course bond that will be paid off next May. $100 we have left on there for the common ground landscaping. With the building purchase, with the road work that must be done starting in 2025, or 26?
It's 26.
26, and the common ground landscaping, we are estimating that the new bond payment will be approximately, what did we say, $517. So the $425 will come off your tax bill, and the $517, or approximately, again, we don't know what rate the bond is going to be and where we are. So the impact is going to be less than $100 a year to get the roads done, get the landscaping done.
And on the building.
And the building. And with that being said, you have to understand that the rent that both Duffy's and the pro shop will pay will go into a reserve, could help the common area, and could also pay down the bond. So that's where you need to understand that money is not, that's going to be put aside for bond reduction and other things, or, lower your tax bill every year. If we have enough that we can say that, well, next year we're only going to charge X amount. So until we actually get a handle on a couple of years, but that's what the idea will be, and that's what our plans are. Okay?
There's a guarantee by Duffy's.
Yes.
Has there been any longer-term outlook plans on what might go into the building beyond the Duffy's lease?
I think we would just have to wait and see what Duffy's lease is at this point. We're talking 22 years, so let's just wait and see how that goes. I just want to get through this.
I just want to be clear. So you reviewed the P&Ls of the Duffys?
No, reviewed the P&Ls of the owner of the property.
Of the owners.
Of the owner of the property who may own more than just that?
No, it was the owner of the property relating to this property.
Right. Which encompass the income from